on this episode of the Data Nerd Podcast.
Dashboards in cars are super informative, right? You always need to know how fast are you going. You always need to know how much gas do I have.
I'm your host, Nisar Ahmed. Join me as we explore the inner data nerd inside all of us. Dive into the world of data alongside special guests who not only share their wealth of experience and knowledge, but also unveil what truly makes them data nerds. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a comment wherever you listen. And for all episodes, plus exclusive merch like the Data Nerd hat, head over to the datanerdpodcast.com. On this episode, I'm joined by Will Perkins, Analytics Solutions Executive at JPMorgan Chase and five-time Tableau Ambassador. I had been thinking of having you on the podcast for some time. And then when I saw your post on our dashboard's dying, right? Our dashboard's dead. I was like, that's it. This is the topic, and you're the perfect guy to have on because you speak at Tableau conferences. You're a Tableau ambassador, right? How many times?
5 times.
5 times, right? So you're pretty experienced, and then you're uh, executive. You're also an executive level, and I saw your post about, do you still classify yourself as an analyst, right? Do you group yourself as an analyst? And it's kind of, the lines are blurred, like what do analysts do? And it's like it could be such a wide range of roles and responsibilities, right? And I have the same, I also have the same dilemma. When people ask me what do I do, I just say, oh, I'm an analyst. But like, am I? Like, I don't know. I kind of do different things?
I tell people, like, when at parties and stuff, or whenever I'm meeting, they're like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "I make pretty charts and graphs." Like,
Yeah.
as just kind of not necessarily a throwaway line, but it's like I do a lot, and I obviously like clarify with them. I'm like, no, I lead a bunch of data visualization people. I love to solve business problems. Like, I kind of go into more of the details about it. But yeah, I mean, it's the analyst title has never really sat well with me. Not that I hate it, but it doesn't have, it's never really felt like the full picture. It's like the tip of
Yeah.
the iceberg. And especially now
Why
having,
now? Why now compared to before?
so there's there are a lot of tools, a lot of capabilities, a lot of platforms that are coming out now that, a bunch of shiny objects.
Mm.
And everybody is using the phrase AI, AI, AI. Now, AI does some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great use cases for the things. There's also use cases that I see people, if I can English today, that I see people kind of promoting that I'm like, but that's not really a solution that's not really a novel thing, or I don't need to put AI in that thing. Why do I need AI for this as opposed to that? So like, I see a lot of
Yeah.
things where there's kind of back and forth. And the big thing that we in the data community have, for as long as I've been a part of it, have always complained about, like, garbage in, garbage out on data.
Yeah.
And the data analyst, that title analyst, has always been like the cleaner of crap,
Yeah.
the cleaner of bad data, the polisher of turds, whatever you want to call it, right? The
Yeah.
lipstick on the pig, however you want to have that analogy. Like, they know a lot of that business logic, or they understand the translation. They do all these things, and they know the data's not clean. The data's not going to be perfect, and I've got to do things to make this intelligible and make sense. And so the reason why I think, especially now, is there with AI that has good function, that has good use cases, that has all that stuff, can't run on bad data. I mean, you can put it on bad data, but you're going to get bad results,
Yeah.
right? So there's such a hyper focus or should be a hyper focus on getting as much of that business logic into like semantic layers, getting the business logic and the business processes pushed as far upstream as possible so then it can be leveraged downstream as opposed to locking it off into these individual platforms, individual solutions, right? And how do you get that pushed up? And so that's why I say, like, even now, there should be much more of a technical focus of people being able to create and own things in a productionalized environment that tech can do that the business users have never really been able to do because they're business. They're not tech. They don't know how to follow the same rigor of documentation and controls and governance. And, you know, they throw things around willy-nilly. So we have to kind of roadblock them from doing other things. And what happens is humans are like water and we find the path of least resistance. And because of that historical like blocking and prioritization of tech, tools like Tableau, tools like Alteryx, tools like N8N or Nine or any other like low no code tool that kind of like flourishes in the market in a business user perspective, that's because tech can't prioritize their work. So there's a need that's being filled right there. So the moment you take it away from like you spread that, you disseminate that through business users, now you're starting to lock in a bunch of like business logic dispersed through an organization. People are doing their own spreadsheet. Will spreadsheet is now powering this production dashboard. Well, Will spreadsheet combines data from, John's spreadsheet, Nasir's spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and everybody else. So it's like you have this discombobulation and disconnectedness, and like that needs to be upstream. And in order to have good stuff upstream and good stuff downstream, you gotta. So that's where I'm like, especially now, it's the whole AI thing.
This has been a problem even before AI. I think
You're right.
AI just highlights it even more because now everyone's like, I wanna let's use all the like to your point, let's use all the shiny tools. And now we're here, we're like, okay, yes, let's do it, but like we're not ready for it. And sometimes people have a hard time hearing that and understanding that. They're like, why? AI can just do it for us, but it's not that
Yeah.
easy. It's not.
We bought this tool. Why can't you use it?
Yeah. And you like you were talking about how you got into or you realized you were a data person or a data nerd, right? And you were talking about your first job and what was that skill set that you highlighted that you had that other people didn't have? To me, what I thought when I heard your story, and you weren't working as an analyst, but you were solving problems. You were a problem solver. You were asking questions. I think now with AI, that skill set will be highlighted even more because if you're a good problem solver, you'll be able to leverage the tools to get what you want.
Yeah. So so it was like the thing that I feel has been very beneficial in my career
Mm,
is not being afraid to ask questions. Like I have no problem. Like people say, oh, don't frame it like this might be a stupid question because you're biasing the person. I'm like, I don't know. Like that might sound stupid to you because you do this day in, day out, but it's not stupid to me. So this might be a stupid question to you. But why did you use this process? Why is this calculation this way? Because this thing doesn't make sense to me. And I have a very like ADHD brain in the aspect of, I mean, I have ADHD, but my brain is like, I hyper fixate on things that don't make sense. And until it makes sense, my brain's like, but why? Why is that even a thing? Like, why
mm,
is this calculation this way? A plus B minus C equals D, but why? Like, why is C the preferred thing? Because it
mm,
sounds very similar to G
yeah.
and it rhymes with Z. Like, why is it C? Like, and I go through and I push and I push until it clicks in my brain. Once it clicks in my brain, then it's like, okay, cool. I completely understand this. And now I can even translate to say, yeah, it sounds like G and it rhymes with Z. However, C is the reason why we have to do A, B, and C. those are the reasons. And that is the most important thing. And I can do that translation and I can do it. And so I've been fortunate enough in my career with that asking those questions, getting that insight, I feel, and it's anecdotal evidence at best, and just in terms of like how my career has progressed, I feel that that sets me apart from peers that might be doing same quality of work as like an output,
Mm,
but it's a different term and it's a different way of being perceived by a stakeholder or perceived by leadership. Like the curiosity, the intellectual curiosity that comes from asking these questions to see that it's not just like a one-time thing. Hell, I was talking with I was talking with somebody that works at Salesforce. I was talking with Kyle Massey. He and I had a great relationship while he worked at JPMorgan with me. We
mm,
have a great relationship as friends. We have a
mm,
great relationship. Like he's a great guy. Love the guy. And he's behind the Tableau wall now. And it's funny because like we were talking about, people requesting things. I mean, it's like, we submit stuff like, hey, the tool doesn't do this thing. And we get that because our view as end users is a silo.
mm,
The tool, the platform is they're looking at everything. And so they're like, they have to ask, but what are you doing? Like, okay, you want to do this thing, but what do you want to do? Like, what is the reasoning behind wanting to do the thing? I get, okay, cool. You want to connect to this thing. You want to do this type of analysis,
mm.
but why? And kind of go around because they have everybody that uses that platform, or they have every so it's always about like the intellectual curiosity that kind of says, well, it's not just like me asking the question. It's like me explaining to you in a way of what I need using the words. And I'm saying what I want because what I want is what I think I need, but what the words actually truly mean. And so that intellectual curiosity over the years has helped me become that translator of requirements, the translator of data.
Well, you've summarized basically what separates a good analyst from just a regular analyst. It's the ability to solve problems and figure out solutions and like the curiosity and whatnot, right? Like we're not I don't know, we're not just out here to curate reports and generate reports and build, I don't know, 20 dashboards and
Yeah.
that's it, right? Like we need to figure out like what problem is this solving and does this fit the needs of the stakeholder or the audiences or the audience, right? And um when I'm teaching my classes, people ask me, "Oh, do I need to know like how good do I have to be in SQL? How good do I have to be in Tableau? How good do I have to be in these technical skills?" I was like, "Listen, yes, that's part of the role, but that's not all of it. If you can demonstrate your ability to solve problems, at the end of the day, does the stakeholder care what tool you used? Even if you used Excel, does it matter? Right? So that's what makes a good analyst.
Yeah. I I literally had this conversation today because people were talking about like in a community group chat that I'm in. We were talking about the power of what AI can do today. Like AI can generate a lot of really good reports, and AI can generate a lot of interesting insights, and do all these things, and that's good. But it also like opens up with technical capabilities. There are tools that are coming out that is like, hey, we're providing you various chart types, like radial charts or spider web, like the
Yeah.
spider web diagrams, right? The radial bar charts. You want curvy bar charts. You want, Sankey's. You got all this. We have solved all the technical work behind the scenes, and it's so easy to get these things, but we're like, yeah, but that's not really telling you anything. Or like, why are you doing it? Let's go back to the why. Like, what is
Yeah.
the thing you're trying to solve? And so I think we're coming, there's a spectrum of where every company, every person, every industry is at in terms of like technology adoption. Some companies are going to be more laggers in adoption, some are going to be more thought leaders, other things. But it's like I think we are coming into a phase, whether it's been here for a while and I'm just now coming into it, or we're part of the leading edge.
Mm.
It's where it's to your point, it's not the technical solution that is the desire. It is the value of the output that you're generating that
Yeah.
really drives home the solution. So like an informative, boring dashboard is greater than any cool, fun looking chart just because it's different. They may both show the same information. One is going to give you a lot more insight quicker than the other.
Yeah, I agree. And that brings me to the topic that I wanted to talk to you about. And when our dashboard's dead, and you wrote a post about this on LinkedIn. Um, so let me just open up the question to you and maybe provide some of your insights and what you wrote about there on your LinkedIn post about dashboards.
Yeah, I mean, so I I have a couple different posts that I did recently. One is like, I don't think dashboards are dead,
Yeah.
um, in the least bit, right? I'm I heard this analogy framework from Andy Cotgreave, and I really liked it. And I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but what sticks in my mind and the way that I use this is dashboards in cars exist,
Mhm.
right? Dashboards in cars are super informative, right? You always need to know how fast are you going. You always need to know how much gas do I have. You always need to know, a handful of things all the time. Like I don't want to just put AI in my car to where I'm driving down the street and say, "Hey car, how fast am I going? Hey car, am I over the speed limit? Hey car, am I doing this?" Now, would it be interesting? And we can kind of do this through Waze, right? I love Waze. I use it as my navigation system.
Yeah.
It will tell me if I am 10% above the speed limit. I get a like a
Yeah.
little noise, right? So
Mhm.
I don't have to ask. If I don't hear that noise, I know I'm below the speed limit or 10% above this. Like I'm below that threshold. Um, but there are things that I want to keep track of. I want to be able to see because maybe I need to slow it down a little bit. Maybe I've got room to speed up, right? Maybe the speed limit changed, and so now I can go up, right? So just being able to monitor all those things in a handful of simple screens. It's easy. Dashboards in cars started out as physical objects, right? There was a physical gauge for a gas. It was literally connected. And it would go up and down with your car. There's a physical gauge showing you the speed. There were physical mileage things. Those things have evolved into digital
Mhm.
interfaces, right?
Mhm.
It's a giant screen that just displays stuff. Now, I have seen some really cool dashboards where a map is integrated, like your navigation is integrated on your dashboard, still showing you the things that are important, but now you have navigation there.
Yeah.
There's the heads up displays, the things that you always need to pay attention. So you're not just looking down at the car dashboard. There's a lot of information there. I don't need on my dashboard all the time a list of all of the possible errors that could ever occur that would cause my check engine light to go on. However, in today's world, a lot of people create dashboards that have just that, the list of all the possible errors that could ever occur. They don't just give you a signal, say, "Hey, look, check engine light goes on." They
Mhm.
give you the list, and then you can scroll through and find interesting errors or find where all the different areas that your car has experienced that error. No, it's like so the dashboards are dead comment. I don't like that. Now, analytics as we know it has evolved. There's an
Mhm.
evolution that we have to understand and evolve with, but it's not going to take away dashboards. We may reduce massive amounts of dashboards that are out there because those dashboards really weren't value add. They really weren't driving information. They were more just reports, right? So it's an evolution, but I don't say the dashboards are dead. The other thing that I posted about dashboards not being dead is lots of companies and products are selling the message dashboards are dead, and
Mhm.
that annoys the hell out of me because their solution is a dashboard
Yeah.
just rebranded, right?
Yeah. But essentially what they're saying is other dashboards are not as good as ours. That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to your car analogy. I think that's a good analogy. And Andy Codgrave is great at those analogies as well. But if I'm comparing dashboards to cars, okay, yes, you're right. You have your dashboard. It tells you the health of your vehicle, tells you how fast you're going, everything that's important. It's in front of you. What about the self-driving cars now? The need to necessarily know how fast you're going or whatnot is still needed, but maybe not as important. Can you draw us a similar parallel with dashboards, like um with AI? Can you put is there less focus now on the need to monitor some of the things on our dashboards?
So you bring up a very interesting use case of self-driving cars. So I'll use the consumer grade of like Tesla self-driving,
Mm.
and I'll also draw an analogy with Waymo. And I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head, like right now, like
Those were the
this
two
is
I was thinking
fresh,
about. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is fresh, and this is like this is raw brain dump as to like how to draw that analogy.
Yeah.
So with Tesla being self-driver from a consumer perspective, I I don't own a Tesla, but I have seen the things like you still have to be behind the wheel.
Hmm.
You still have to maintain a certain level of control. You can't just like take a nap in the back seat, right? There's still a human in the loop, right?
Right.
You'll hear that phrase commonly with AI things, right? Human in the loop. So there's a human in the loop. So when I have to take over, if I have to take over, if I need to change paths, yes, I still that the dashboard still is relevant. If I am letting it go and just kind of do its own thing, me monitoring, is it doing its own thing properly? Is it still maintaining within the speed limit? Is it doing all that? Like I can trust that Tesla's going to have my safety in mind when they're doing all these things. But if I can't control, like trust is one thing, control is better. So if I can't control, be like, oh shit, no, you are going way too fast. I'm gonna take over here. Like that dashboard monitoring is very important.
And you know what happens in Teslas, if you make too many mistakes or you don't monitor and they see that you're not paying attention, they'll disable the self-driving and say, you know what, you're not paying attention, just now you've got to take it over yourself, right? So,
Yep.
it's the human in the loop is important there, and you have to know what's happening, even if there's some automation there.
Yep.
But
And then
let's
and then
let's
switching
bring the
over to
Waymo.
Waymo.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Waymo.
So
How do we draw a
so
parallel
I
there with Waymo?
I went to Dreamforce this year or this past year,
Yeah,
and there was one night Matthew Miller and I were out and we're like, let's grab a Waymo. Neither of us had ever gotten into a Waymo.
yeah.
And I was like, let's just try it out. Like they're all over San Francisco. And it was a really cool experience. It's still a normal car. It has a shit ton of cameras and sensors and all these different things that it uses in order to drive, but it still has a dashboard on there. It still has controls and things. Now, as you're sitting in the back seat,
Do you have control as a passenger on what's
you
happening?
you cannot sit in the driver's seat. They don't allow somebody to sit in the driver's seat. Now, there can be if something were to go wrong, they have people monitoring all the cars. They're doing all the data stuff behind the
Mm,
scenes, right?
mm-hmm.
And so if something were to go wrong with the system or whatever, there can be, similar to Tesla, a human in the loop to drive the car into another place. But going into like the fully automated pieces, I have seen so many videos of like Waymo trips gone wrong, where a Waymo's just going in a circle like this,
Yeah.
or I've seen them drive through accidents where they're just like navigating around, where it's like has no concept of what is going on other than just like there is an object in my path and I'm going to go around said object. Right. It again, the really cool thing is like it on the screen in the back seat, you can see like as it's going, you can see the path, you can see humans, you can see like
Hmm.
cones, you can see the outlines of these things. It is phenomenal. It's mind blowing. But again, it has errors. It parks in the middle of a street or it turns on on a street that is has construction, and maybe they've got it down to 2 lanes because of construction, the other half of the street's cut off. I've seen them go over into the other lane to pass the car, but now they're going into oncoming traffic. And so it's like there's things where it's good, but not perfect. And so from a dashboard perspective, again, going back to the dashboard thing, like
Yeah.
you just kind of let AI go, or let, people just kind of do their own thing. Where are the guardrails? Like
Yeah.
where's the control, the trust, the governance behind all of that? Because all of those instances still had somebody monitoring the system. The
Yeah.
car was driving, and like that circle, the one going in the circle, the car was driving. There was nothing wrong with the car, but the path was wrong. So again, this is raw Will Perkins like brained up. I'll probably be able to like modify
No,
this
no, but
analogy later.
it's a good analogy, right? And like from a dashboard perspective, you still need the analyst to monitor and know how to steer it properly, or provide some of the insights from the dashboards, right? If y- you're trying to provide a AI dashboard fully autonomous, um, how do you know that the users will know how to ask the right questions or get the proper insights? It's just that's in itself is a skill set, right?
So I always tell people when we're talking about data, I liken data to another language. Like you have to understand data is a language in and of itself.
Mm,
And yes, it's ones and zeros and code and all that stuff, but it's it's there are things that just don't translate into data, that the business uses these words all the time. That doesn't exist in data, but they use this word and they mean this.
mm,
Or they can use the same word, and two different businesses can use the exact same word, and both of their definitions from a semantics perspective are correct, but both of their definitions are distinctly different from each other, but it's the same thing, right? Um, how many times did this action occur? Business A might say, okay, well, I had this action occurring 100 times. Business B might say, in the same company, business B might say, this action occurred 110 times. And the reason why A's is different than B's is because A supports this process of that action. B supports the same action, but they support different pieces of it. So, like, both are correct and both are wrong depending on how you look at it, but the definitions are correct. So this goes back to like semantic layers. It
yeah.
goes back to you understanding and being a trusted partner. So it's like I'm trying to get my team, my broader organization, peer organizations to realize you're not a chart creator. You need to be a trusted business partner that makes charts, that makes insights, but you're not a chart creator first, right? It's not just say, it's like they don't tell you jump and you just start jumping, right? That's what a lot of like chart creators kind of do. It's like, hey, I need this report. Cool, I can get you the report. I know exactly how to technically do this thing. I know how to do this and I know how to do that. But the trusted business partner is like, okay, cool, but what are you going to do with that information? How are you going to leverage that into your next, you know, process? If I give you this answer, what's the next answer that you're going to be looking? What's the next question? Obviously, you don't know all the questions you're potentially going to ask. So, like, I have some assumptions, and does this sound good? I'm going to give you this variation, right? So it's really just being that trusted partner of taking that to the next level.
Yeah.
And if I just open up AI to these things, AI doesn't always have all of the semantics of my business or my partners, right? So it's an evolution. Will it get there? Probably. And it's getting there faster and faster every day. This is not me being an AI naysayer.
No, you're right. And this is the worst AI is going to be. It's only going to get better, right? And so the Waymo may, like right now, maybe it's going round in circles, but it may improve and get better, right? Same could be said about dashboards. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? We could just deal with what we have available to us right now. Um, but I also feel like what AI can't do And what we as analysts also do is the data storytelling aspect, because data storytelling is not just about what are the insights, it's how do you put it together in a narrative, and how do you create a connection with that audience. You need to understand them, and you need to know what they need, and you need to then carve out that story and tell that story in a way that they will understand. And I think that's still a very human skill set.
So I think you can get pretty close to some of that, right? And this, like, there are always there are data analyses, there are data stories, there's various, like, a spectrum. Everything's a spectrum, right? It's not
Mm,
just a black and white thing, right? Like, I don't write paragraphs on dashboards to kind of tell the person this is what's happening, because dashboards that we create within my space are really informative, and that's not like the end of the conversation. Sometimes that's the beginning of the conversation, or a confirmation of a different conversation, right? It's a baseline. It's their North Star to say, I feel this number over here is going really bad, in comparison to what I've seen before. Look at the North Star. Yep, I was correct. Like, and so it's not always going to
yeah.
be a story, but there always needs to be a logical flow of things. You don't want your end users doing mental gymnastics where they look at, let's just say they have this massive table, right? Tables aren't bad. You hear a lot of people knocking tables in the data viz community because we like charts, we're more visual, people can see faster than they can read. All of those, like, visualization best practices type conversations, let's kind of put that to the side right now.
Mm,
Tables can be very informative. But if I'm providing a table to a person, and let's just say I've got 10 rows, 10 columns, I have 100 cells. I have supported many different groups where they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm looking at row 4, column 3, and I'm comparing it with row 2, column 8, and I'm summing that to make sure that row 7, column 2 is correct." And they're doing those mental gymnastics, and to them that is so easy. But where would I ever understand without having that conversation? Those are the things that they're doing. And then I say, well, stop doing that mental gymnastics. Let me just give you that math together and say
mm,
these two together should equal this thing. Is that a forever thing, or is that a now thing? Is that a for, are we going to continue to repeat this process, or are you going to kind of switch up the different things that you're doing math together to validate? Right. Having that back and forth. AI can, like, you can train um, agents or bots or whatever to kind of be um, not just oh, hey, well, that is a great question. Let me give you this insight. You can
mm,
train them to say, well, push back, play devil's advocate.
yeah,
Ask me deeper questions, ask me those types of things. So you can get that, and it can feel okay. And I think that can help kind of flesh out some requirements. They can make some really good charts. I'm not denying that they can do all that stuff. That the AI can do all of that stuff. Like, the the thing that I think is just really valuable is the conversation, the syntax that is not data. Because that's why I've always had a problem with the phrase data driven. We're data driven organization. I'm a data driven team. I like data driven, data driven, data driven. You can't be data driven because you will never have 100% of all the data. You can be data informed.
mm,
You can say this is trending down, and I know that this is similar pattern that I'm seeing over this other thing that is completely disconnected, or whatever the case may be. Like, I know the context, and so I'm going to put that context, understanding the data, and I'm going to make a decision based on, you know experience, based on data, based on context, based on conversations. Like, sometimes you bet against the data, right? You're like, you know what? I see this thing's going down, but I know if we do this thing, it's gonna go back up. Data tells you it's going down, so you stop doing the thing and you say, no, I'm now going to double down,
yeah,
right? So you're still making data informed decisions.
yeah. No, that's right. When uh, when I started working in Tableau, right, and data visualization, at that time, the focus or the marketing behind dashboards was, oh, it's self-service analytics, self-service business intelligence. Um, I think maybe that may change, right? Now it's not, yeah, there is self-service, but I don't think it's the, I think now people are trying to incorporate AI to get some of those insights rather than having to do it yourself. And maybe that mentality has shifted a little bit in more recent years.
Um, I think it depends on how you define self-service. Like, what is self-service? To us as analysts that generally own the assets, own the deliverables, we are self-serving um, these insights to our stakeholders
Yeah,
because tech can't do the work or won't do the work, right? We're self-servicing. Like tech technically owns all of these things, but we're self-servicing and we're providing a solution. But if you talk to like business users, self-service is like, just let me do the thing. Let
yeah,
me go and query the data.
mm,
Let like enable me. Like you're my roadblock. You're my tech, right? You're talking about tech being the bad guy. You're my tech. You're in my way of me getting to my data. Um, and so like I would say there's actually going to be an exponential increase in people's expectations as to self-service as a theme. Um, Now, I see both pros and cons in that proliferation of broader self-service. Um, the pros, right? I'm not a bottleneck. I don't ever want to be a bottleneck. Um, and I've always told people data is very literal. When you ask data a question, you are going to get a literal answer based on that in terms of just like, I'm going to query this data. It doesn't know that Will could also be William or Willie or Bill or Billy or whatever, right? It's if you say, give me all my customer, select star from customer table where name equals Will. Name will never equal Will unless it is just Will, right? It's the name is going to be Will Perkins, William Perkins, Will C. Perkins, all right. So you get literal answers, but with AI is really helping us like
yeah,
take some of that ambiguity, reshape it into you asked an ambiguous question. I understand the context, the themes, I understand all the variations of who Will could potentially be. I'm going
yeah,
to go do that on your behalf, right? So from a self-service perspective, there's a lot of power that can be.
yeah, yeah.
The other the cons there, or well, let's talk about the pros. Talk about the pros. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I completely agree with you. But that's also why I think some of that is now shifting towards the AI solution rather than filtering on the dashboard and figuring it out using the dashboard as your self-service tool. I'm talking about the stakeholders, the end users.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. The
So I
Go ahead.
think it's all good stuff. It is a pro, to your point, AI knows how to tie it all together and may think of it differently than how you may think of it. I don't use, now people are saying that Google searches are less now because people are just going directly into ChatGPT or whatever AI tool and
Mhm.
asking it there, and eventually it's gonna the traditional searching methodology or is gonna change.
Yeah.
And I think
So
that's similar with dashboards. It's just changing.
it is. Because with traditional search, whether it's data, whether it's Google, whatever it is, like traditional search, again, I'm having a hard time Englishing today, is has always been a very static, no context experience. Like you get back what you ask. As you learn different ways to get back results. Like I remember when Google in its early days, there were things you like throw in this key, indicator, like put in this special character, and then anything you put after that special character. So you're basically coding in the Google search bar.
Yeah.
Like you could do these different variations and you could do parentheses and ors and let's see, you can still do that stuff today. but the context behind the improvement of that search experience, context is now deeper than what we ever realized. Like, it's not just Will searching for a new car. It is now saying the context behind that search. Will lives in the Dallas area. Will has generally searched on these types of things in his life, which leads us to believe he probably wants this type of vehicle. Will has, Will has been searching for this. Let's give some information to Will's wife because Will's wife is probably interested in this thing as well. I'm going to make some assumptions about Will's family because things will search, right? You start getting all this additional context from all this metadata, all this scraping, for better or worse. We can talk about data privacy, but that's probably just another podcast in and of itself. But it's like,
Yes.
for better or for worse, you have all this additional context that now enhances your search capacity. And I think for the better, that's really helping us. Now, there's still cons to this whole AI search thing or this AI empowerment of self-service, because a lot of the times, like, I can't explain to you how it's doing this work. I can't explain to you the behind the scenes, like how the sausage is made. I just know I say, give me one hot dog and a hot dog appears, right? I don't know what's in the hot dog. I don't know how long, like, I don't know all these things. And it's hard. Like, if I ask for a hot dog, I know that if you go and you ask for a hot dog, you don't always get the exact same hot dog that I got. You might have slightly different ingredients. You might have slightly different texture. You might have a slightly different size, right? All these different things. It's like, so the downside is I can't govern that. I can govern the model. I can govern the data that I feed to it, the training that I feed to it, but I can't govern the output. And so there's the trust layer and the control layer and the governance layer around, like, outputs of these things is, to me, it's a big con. Is it outweighing the pros? I don't think it's outweighing the pros. I think it's one of those, like, you have an asterisk next to this result. Like, put an asterisk next to the result. We're pretty confident on this thing. Just validate that that's the right answer. Validate that we're getting the right thing, right? That's
Okay,
one
but
of the cons.
but as you're talking about everything that AI does, you were defining a lot of responsibilities or what a good analyst should do, right? Is
Mhm.
it, and so is that taking away some of the need for the analysts to be good at doing that, and should their focus now be on something else?
The the way that I see analysts evolving is they should always be intellectually curious. Like, all the things still remain true as far as, like, what defines a good analyst, what defines an average analyst, and what defines, like, a bad analyst. Um, the things that make you curious, the things that you should trust or question, that's all these different things. It's still true. You just might be able to do it faster. Not might. You are able to do it faster.
Yes, it'd be more productive. Yeah.
You can be more productive, exactly. So it is, the evolution that I see is really, like, we in the analyst space, and I'll say we in the general, but I'll use me. I'm really bad at documentation. I'm really bad at, like, commenting code. I'm really bad around, like, defining exactly what I'm doing at this point in time. I'm really good at coming up with a solution. I'm really good at speed. I'm really good at other things. And, like, where the analyst needs to move is, like, some of that stuff that I do today probably don't need to do tomorrow, right? I probably don't need to be creating all these crazy charts or, different hacks and tools and all these things that give a totally different experience than just, like, the standard out of the box experience that people have with different charts and dashboards, et cetera. I like to add that personal touch, but, like, maybe I don't need to do that tomorrow, but I need to have really good documented data that is human understandable. It's got commentary behind it. It's got, sample data. So like the AI, when it's going and looking for, total sales over the past 6 months, it understands what are the past 6 months. Is today's 6 months, or is my data always a monthly snapshot? Right. So what is line of business? Do I have a column that says line of business somewhere, or is it just called, whatever? Like all of these different nuances, we have to do better owning more upstream and defining that upstream stuff that we've never had to, because we've always made the polished output, never had to worry about people seeing the column names, never had to worry about all these different things. And so we've always been, like I said earlier, the turd polishers of things, where it looks really pretty and it gives exactly what the end users are needing. But we just kind of hide the behind the scenes. Like, don't look behind the curtains, just look at the wizard. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a fair point. So I guess, I mean, to answer your question, are dashboards dead? They're not. There's a need for them. Oh, I think there'll always be a need for them, regardless of where technology moves ahead. Just maybe it may look a little bit different.
Yeah, that's all it is. We we didn't know we needed dashboards until we needed a dashboard. Like even in thinking of the evolution of what a dashboard is, like literally from a car dashboard,
Yeah.
right? They didn't exist until they existed, and they've evolved. And different vehicles have different dashboards, have different things that are relevant to them, right? And so it's not a fixed definition; it's a fluid definition. It's a spectrum. And so to say that all dashboards are dead is absolutely just marketing gimmicky.
It's clickbait. That's what it
It
is, right?
is.
That's what it is. Yeah. Um, how long have people been saying Excel is dead? Excel's never going away. Excel's been around
Yeah.
for ages, and there's still a need for them, no matter what we're using. There'll always be a need for
I forget the exact phrasing, but somebody once said like Excel is like the analytics cockroach. It'll never die.
it. Yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. There are things you can do in Excel much faster than opening up Tableau and getting the answer, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
you probably don't need to use Tableau 4 because they're just small ad hoc work and insights, So, um, yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. So now if somebody is listening to this and they're like, okay, so now what? Like if somebody's early on in their career, they're getting into this role, what advice would you give? Like, what should they focus on?
I I hate the phrase soft skills,
Hmm.
but the meaning behind soft skills is absolutely, to me, they're foundational skills. So when we talk about soft skills, right, it's like communication, relationship building, just
Hmm.
those types of things. That to me is the most foundational thing you should be working on. You should be understanding the people you're working with. You should be understanding your stakeholders that you're supporting. You should be leaning into asking questions, like just getting to know people. You should learn how to communicate your process. And as an ADHD person, I love AI's capability of being able to help me reframe my mental chaos that I sometimes communicate in a way that people don't understand me. If they don't know who I am, they don't know where my head is at, or know the context behind the text. Like when they're reading an email or a text or ping or whatever, sometimes I don't communicate correctly. And I'm saying the things that I want to say, but I'm not saying it in a way that is clear to the other person. And so it's like, how do you communicate in ways that people understand what it is you're doing? Like, how do you leverage technical tools to support those elements? But like to me, being able to like, are you a person of your word, right? If you say you're going to do something, do you do it? If you don't do that, like you lose a lot of credibility when it comes to stakeholders, leadership, peers. Are
Yeah.
you somebody who I know that I can count on to be my voice when I'm not in a meeting? Right? Do you have a leadership capability? That you don't have to be a manager, but like, can you command a room? Can you command a call? Like, there's a lot of things that just it comes with time, but that's what I would invest in.
What if you're somebody who doesn't like to do that stuff and you're just a technical person?
I have met many people like that in my career,
Hmm.
and I will always say there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that in the least bit. There are people that they want to come in, they are really damn good at their job. They
Hmm.
come in, do their work, they go home. That's what they want to do. Um, I have seen some people that's a limiting career limiting decision. They understand like in their role in their team, like they understand what that means to them, and I've seen them when they come out of that scenario, still doing the same thing. They go to a new team, they've drastically grown, right? So like there are things where you don't have to be the person that holds the microphone, right? You can be the person behind the scenes that plans the organization, like the event where the person is holding the microphone. Like there's always a spot for you. Um, but the being able to talk to people, if you can't talk to people, even if it's just like, hey, can you give me a little bit more clarity on this request? Like, I don't really understand fully what I'm supposed to be doing. Like those, there are things where you have to do it, whether
Well,
you're
there's different
introvert,
forms.
extrovert, omnivert,
There's different
yeah.
forms of communication, right? It's not always
Yeah,
verbal.
yeah. Written, verbal, like
E-
body
Even a dashboard,
language.
even a
Yeah,
dashboard is a form of
yeah,
communication,
yeah.
visualization. Yeah. But essentially, it, you need to know how to communicate in some like in some way, whether it's written, verbal, visual, uh, you know,
Physical.
physical. Yeah,
Like just like me doing this, talking with my hands, that is a way of communicating, right? If I was just doing this the whole time, like that even just changes my voice, right? Like so
that's true. Yeah,
it's
body language
yeah.
is a huge part of communication. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, listen, again, we could probably do a whole other podcast just on that topic. But listen, it's been a pleasure having you on, Will. It's been a great chat. I know you're going to Tableau conference in May. I'm still TBD. I don't know. It's going to be a last minute decision for me. So let's
Cross
see.
fingers.
Fingers crossed. But hopefully we'll run into each other again.
Yeah, I hope so too. And if you do make it out there, Kirk Monroe and I are presenting on composable data sources and how they are finally able to be used in data modeling. And that's a huge, huge like lift to the community that we've been waiting well over a decade for this.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's I'll definitely, even if I'm not there, it'll be recorded, right? You can watch it on demand.
Not sure if
You're
that
not
one will
sure?
be, but
Well,
but we will be doing a session with Chris McClellan on the data fam tug. So we will have it recorded. So if it's not officially on Salesforce, which I don't think we were selected, if it's not officially on Salesforce, we will be doing a data fam tug recording of it.
so can people connect with you on LinkedIn? Is that the best way to see the
Absolutely.
your latest and greatest content? And
Yeah, I'm still active on X. I avoid all the politics stuff. Like I've just always, it was always like data fam and soccer. Data fam has been like ebbing and flowing over the years. And so, but I'm still active on there.
do you
So,
want to give your handle for X?
um, it's a little hard to like if you don't speak Portuguese, it's a little hard to spread. But you can search my name, Will Perkins.
Okay,
It's at underscore gringuinho underscore. So it's like the little gringo
gotcha.
in Portuguese. But yeah,
Okay, and then on LinkedIn it's Will C Perkins, right?
that's it. Yep.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Will.
All right, it was a pleasure chatting. Good to see you, and hopefully get to see you, high five you, hug you in person.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and leave a rating or review. It really helps more data nerds discover the show. You can find all episodes, plus exclusive merch like the Data Nerd hat, and more at thedatanerdpodcast.com. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and embrace your inner data nerd.